We had over 3,100 students working in on-campus jobs. The university paid over $6.1 million in wages. So there are jobs out there and there's money to be made. In addition to those on-campus jobs, we post for off-campus employers as well. Those off-campus employers, we know that's kind of a drop in the bucket because not all of them post with us and students find jobs that we don't know about, and that is okay. But just for those jobs that were posted through the website, there were an additional 750 jobs.
I'm Cliff Smart, the president of Missouri State University, and student workers are critical to everything that happens at the university. In our office, we use them to evaluate fiscal notes and schedule meetings, white papers, primarily as we work on government advocacy. Workers from our office have gone on to have important positions in state government, in city government, and in the private sector. And that feels good.
So I don't know if you've had an opportunity to meet President Smart this week, but he is amazing. He is very popular with the student population at Missouri State. He's very interactive and he gets involved. He, like all of administration, they're huge supporters for student employment. They understand the importance that it is for the student to gain a lot of information and to have that opportunity while you're getting your undergraduate education. There are a lot of reasons to get jobs. Some of those reasons are pretty obvious. Some are some that you maybe didn't know about or haven't thought about. The first is time management. So students, while you've been in high school, you've probably been pretty busy. That senior year is a whirlwind. It goes by very quickly, and there's a lot going on. You may have had family members that would give you gentle reminders or subtle deadline reminders of things when things needed to be done, making sure you didn't miss any deadlines. So when you come to college, you've got complete control over that schedule, which is great. You get to make all of the decisions. With that comes some responsibility. Studies have shown that students that get jobs while they're pursuing their education actually have a better GPA than those that don't. And the reason why is if you have a job, it forces you to have a little more structure in your schedule. It forces you to think through, when am I going to be at work? When do I have classes? When do I have my study group? You're having to think through, okay, when am I going to get that paper written? When am I going to study for that exam? If you don't have any structure in your schedule at all, a lot of times you'll say, oh, that's not till next week, I'm going to put it off. And then you get to the exam and you wish you would have had a little more structure and you were a little more prepared. So that is a good reason to consider getting a job. It does force you mentally to have a little bit of structure. You don't have to schedule every minute of every day, but it forces you to think things through a little more. You're going to meet people. We have 5 student employees and a graduate assistant in our office. They ask us questions all the time. They ask us questions about their job. They ask us questions about campus. They ask us questions about Springfield. They ask us questions about life. We are there. They are comfortable with us as a resource. So that is a benefit of having a job, is you really get to know those folks that you're working with and you meet them on a personal level. You're going to build your resume and you're going to create references. You are preparing for that post-education job. You're preparing for that career job. So when you are working as an undergraduate student, you're developing an employment history and you are creating references that you'll be able to list on those career applications and resumes later on. This is our favorite one. This is what we call education outside the classroom. Your professors are going to give you a ton of information that is going to prepare you for your future careers. Having a job allows you to develop and gain some employment skills that are transferable with every job. So skills that you learn on the job, you will be able to utilize for those career positions as well. And then of course, who doesn't like a little extra cash? Cash can be a little bit of a stressor, students. Sometimes you meet a lot of people and they're asking you to do things, and it's nice when you have a little extra cash flow and you can say, yeah, I'll go get Starbucks, or I'd be love to go here or there with you. So having an extra cash is a good thing when you're involved in college life. So there are 2 different types of jobs on campus, and with those jobs there are eligibility requirements. The first of which is you've got to be degree seeking. Now, many of you may be at an undeclared major. That is okay. That's still degree seeking at this point in your education. When you hit a specific threshold of hours, your advisor's going to, tell you it's time we've got to declare a specific major, but undeclared is still degree seeking, and it is fine for student employment at this point in your education. You've got to be at least half-time, so you've got to be taking at least 6 credit hours per semester, and you've got to maintain a minimum of a 2.0 GPA. Academics come first. Now, international students do have a few extra eligibility requirements based off of their treaties, their visas. So if that's something you need more information on, get in contact with us and we will give you those extra requirements needed. Okay, like I said, college life is busy, just like high school life was busy. So you're going to have different things going on all the time. We're going to kind of look at what a week of a college life student looks like to kind of give you an idea of where your time will be spent. So first of all, there are 168 hours in the week, okay? On average, you're going to spend about 15 hours a week in your classes, in seated classes and online classes, but you're going to have 15 hours a week just for class time. Now, at a university level, when you are in a class, that does not mean that the professor is going to give you time to get the work done. More than likely, that professor is going to be giving you directive on what needs to be done for that class, but you are not going to be given the time in that class time to actually get that work done. So it is recommended that you spend double the amount of time in class getting things done, getting your projects done, writing papers, all of those types of things that need to be done for the class. Now, I think this one is pretty generous. I'm not sure that every student sleeps 8 hours a day, 7 days a week. We've added that in there in case you do. I think the next one's a little generous as well. I'm not sure that students, I'm not sure that you actually sit down 1 hour, 3 times a day, 7 days a week and have a meal. What I see is students are great multitaskers, and generally they're doing multiple things at that time. So, of the time spent getting your academics done, eating, sleeping, that's 122 of your 168 hours, okay? That leaves 46 hours. So what if you were to get a job for 10 hours a week? That would still allow you a lot of time to get involved in organizations, downtime, just have some fun time for you. It's easy to say, I'm too busy to have a job, and a lot of times you are really busy. But when you map out the actual schedule, there are generally some time slots available to where you can find some time to work a few hours that would help your cash flow, help you build some skills and things like that. Who's figured out that college is expensive? I think we've all figured that one out, right? It's an investment for your future. It truly is. It does come with a price tag. So before scholarships, before grants, before any extra help with your account, you're going to spend for room and board, tuition fees, books, you're going to spend on average $1,800 a month. Now that's before grants and all of those things. So that number may be reduced for you, but on average, that first whole number would be $1,800. So I told you that we ask students of our questions all the time, or they ask us questions all the time. Well, I asked them this past year, if you could have just a little extra cash, a base amount as get-by money, you know, that's money to put gas in your car, that's money to run to Walmart, Walgreens, somebody asks, you know, you want to go grab a pizza, go to Starbucks, whatever. If they ask you to do something and you have that money, what would you need? And they said if they could have $50 a month, that wouldn't give them money to go to the mall every week and spend a ton of money and shopping and things like that, but it would be get-by money. So $200 a month is what they felt would be beneficial for them. So students, what if you were to work 10 hours a week for the entire semester making minimum wage, and there are positions on campus that pay more than minimum wage, but at minimum wage you could generate $292. As a student employee, any earnings that you earn in that position, you get to decide how to spend them. It doesn't automatically go to your tuition account or anything like that. So you get to decide, do I pay those on my Missouri State statement or balance, or do I use that as extra money? That would be your money to decide how to spend. There are 2 different types of positions on campus. There are general student jobs, Those are jobs where the university has allocated money to specific departments, and they use that to pay wages for those positions. Then there is another one called federal work study. That is based off of financial need. And we're going to talk about federal work study just a minute so everyone has a clear understanding of what that is, and if you didn't get it, if you're eligible and how to sign up for it. So federal work study is based off of your FAFSA. When you completed your FAFSA and you put in all that tax information, at the bottom of it, it gave you an EFC number, an estimated financial contribution. That number determined whether you were eligible for all campus-based aid. It determined whether you were eligible for grants, some scholarships, everything. It determines whether you're eligible for work study. If you qualified for a Pell Grant and you received any type of Pell Grant in your financial aid package, then you would qualify for work study likely. The packaging parameters are the same. It's paid through federal funding that comes to the university. So everybody at the university that is employed is an MSU employee. It's merely a different funding bucket. This next year, we're going to get $691,000 in work study funding from the federal government, and that is a ton of money. Unfortunately, it doesn't allow us to award everyone that's eligible. Of those 3,100 plus jobs that we had last year on campus, only 450 of those were work study funding. Okay, so most jobs on campus are going to fall into that general student employment category, meaning the university paid the wages. Federal work study is merely a different funding bucket, and everybody would be paid the same way. It's not like a grant, a loan, a scholarship. Like I said, any money that you earn, you determine how you're going to pay it, or how you're going to use it to pay for things. It's not going to automatically be added to your tuition account. Work study means that you're given an award and you can earn up to that amount for the year based off of the work that you provide for campus employment. We talked about, there's a much greater need for eligibility than the funding we receive. The benefit of having work study is that there are some departments on campus that do not have budgets allocated to pay wages for student employees. Now, every department on campus hires student employees, so there are lots of job opportunities out there. But there are some departments, for instance, we're a small office on campus. We have 3 full-time employees, a part-time employee, a graduate assistant, and 5 student employees. That's considered a small office. In our office, we don't have an allocated budget to pay wages for student employees, which is pretty ironic considering we're a student employment office. But if I were to post a position, I'm going to post that position as work study required. And what that means is the student has to have work study because I need it to come from that funding bucket, from that federal funding bucket, because I don't have a funding bucket to pay for those wages for a student if they don't have a work study award. So the benefit of having work study is you can apply to every job on campus. You can apply to the job postings that say work study required, and you can apply to the ones that say work study optional. If you don't have a work study award, you can only apply to the ones that say work study optional. And that means that that department has the money to pay those wages, and it doesn't need to come through that federal funding bucket. So the need for work study is great. If you didn't fill out your FAFSA on October 1st, chances are you didn't receive an award. That's how quickly it goes compared to the demand. About 40% of the student population qualifies for work study. So what happens is we do a lot of initial awards, and then we know that not everybody that received an initial work study award is going to use it. Some of them are going to decline it, they're not going to accept it, and what we do is at the end of July, so in a week, we're going to pull back any money that hasn't been accepted, and we're going to redistribute to students who are on a work study wait list. If you received the Pell Grant, and you did not receive a work study award and want to be considered for one, on August 1st at 7 a.m. on your My Missouri State menu, you can sign up for the work study wait list. And it's a first come, first serve. As money becomes available, we're redistributing that out to students for them to get work study positions as well. So that way they can apply for those work study required positions. Okay, this is a screenshot of our website. You can get here a couple of ways. You can do a student employment search on the Missouri State website, or you can go to missouristate.edu/find-a-job. It's going to take you to the same spot. On the right-hand side, there is a spot you can put your email address. We are not going to inundate you with emails. You will receive one email once a week that's going to tell you all of the new on and off-campus postings that have been posted for that week. It's just a general reminder so that way you can see if there's something that you're really interested in, you can see when it comes up. In the middle of the website, you can see a bear head and a find a job link. You can click on either one of those and it's going to show you all of the current job postings out there. You can use filters and you can look at both on and off campus job postings that are out there. Now, when you go to apply for a job, sometimes it takes a little time. I don't know how many of you guys have filled out applications before, but if you have, when you fill out an application, it just takes some time to populate and put everything in there. And one really neat feature of this program is that it stores your application. So when you find a posting that you're interested in, and it'll show you all the job requirements, how much it pays, how many hours a week it's requiring, minimum requirements, all those things, there's an apply to this job link within that job posting. You click on that apply to the job, it's going to ask you to set up a username and password. Students, that is not the same as your My Missouri State. It is a standalone system, so you can create whatever username and password you want. The password never expires, which is really nice because you can use that same password every time you apply for jobs throughout your all of your education, undergraduate or graduate. But when you apply to jobs, you're going to fill out that application, and then the next job that you apply for, and you say apply to this job, it's going to ask you if you want to use the previous application stored on file. So you can apply to jobs continually without having to recreate that application every time. Now students, I want to give you some application tips, okay? Some of these are going to seem really common sense, but some, we want to share this with you because as you are applying for university positions, keep in mind other jobs, other applicants, other students are applying for like positions. So you want to make sure you market yourself well. You want to make sure you stand out. So when you're applying for jobs and you're filling out all the blocks, make sure you use both upper and lower case, okay? That would seem like a common sense thing, but you would be surprised at how many applications we see and everything's lowercase. You want to make sure you use good grammar and that you're using that upper and lower case. It's going to ask you lots of information. It's going to ask you employment history, reference information. We know not every student that's coming to campus has worked before, and that's okay. We don't expect you to. If you have had a job, you can list that in your employment history, but if you haven't had a job, you don't have to list that. As far as references go, everybody in here has got somebody or a couple of people that are nice and will say something nice about you. So everybody has references, everyone has skills, there's lots of information you can list. When it asks you for like addresses and phone numbers and things like that, for your employment history, for your references, try to find them. Literally try to find them so you can fill in those boxes. Sometimes someone has fallen off the radar. That business is closed, you cannot find that address or phone number. You can still list that information, but in the boxes where it asks for that information, put an NA in there. That shows the person looking at your application that you took the time to try to fill it out. It shows that you used the attention to detail to make sure you filled it out thoroughly. If you leave spots blank, it might appear to the person looking at your application that you didn't have as much attention to detail or didn't take the time to completely fill out the application. It's also going to ask each day of the week when you're available to work. Okay, we know you're going to be busy. You know you're going to be busy. You don't have to put every hour of every day down that you're available. You get complete control of your schedule. You're at college now, so you get to figure out when you're going to do things. But keep in mind that when departments are looking at applications, they may be looking to fill specific time slots. So suppose I have a posting out there, and I need to have someone work from 8 to 11:30 on Tuesday and Thursday. Okay? And you're filling out your application, and you say, I didn't take 8 a.m. classes because I don't like to get up early. I want to sleep in. And I've met all these people, and a lot of times, they're contacting me wanting to do stuff, so I want to be done by 4 every day because I don't want to, I want to have time to do what I want to do and connect. That's fine. But if I'm looking for someone to fit a shift from 8 to 11:30 on Tuesday and Thursday, and your classes, you don't have class time then, but you didn't list that as availability, then I'm probably not going to look at your application because I have a specific need of when I'm needing to cover. So the more flexibility you can have, the more marketable you're going to be to departments as they're looking at your application to try to fill specific time slots. Okay? Now, if you don't have a resume, it's summer. It's a great time to do that. You do not have to have a resume to apply for jobs. Okay? Some positions, there will be some postings that will say resume required, so you may need some for specific jobs. If you don't have a resume, there are all kinds of online templates that you can use this summer where you can create one. The Career Center in Carrington 309, that's a service they provide as well, so that's something that they can help you with if you're needing some assistance with the resume as well. Okay, we want to make you aware of scammers. Just like everything in society, scammers exist in the employment side of the house as well. A lot of times, well, first of all, your public ID, your email address, your @live email address, that's a public ID. And the reason why that's public is sometimes you're in a class and you've got a class project or a group project, and maybe the person you need to get a hold of wasn't in class, or you need to talk to them before it's due at the next class period. You've got to be able to find that person. So that's why that email address is public, because you've got to be able to connect and talk to people within your education. Scammers can get those addresses as well. They're public IDs. So, if you get emails where it's asking for confidential information or sensitive information like a social security number or birth date, a bank account information, things like that, you're getting a request via email, keep in mind, we've already got that information. Okay, Missouri State's already got your social security number. We've already got your birth date. We've got all those things in our system. We are not going to request that of you via email. If we need something, we're going to tell you what's needed, and we're going to tell you to bring it to our the financial aid office or a specific office to get that information to us. If you're getting an email where you haven't applied for a job and it's a too good to be true job, you're going to receive a lot of income and not have to do much, it might be a scam. It likely would be. We are there. You can forward that email to us. You can come see us. We will check it out to make sure it's legitimate. If it's not legitimate, we're going to block that email address. Scammers are creative, though. They know how to create another email address very quickly. So we block a lot of them, but we will certainly check it out to make sure it's legitimate. Just be aware. If you're not sure, come see us. We'll check it out for you. Okay, you applied for jobs. You were interviewed. You got the job. Congratulations. With that, now that you've been hired, you're going to be required to fill out some new hire paperwork. The first of those forms is an I-9 form. We're required by the Department of Homeland Security to make sure you're eligible to work in the United States. We do need some identification documents with that form. They have to be originals. We cannot take photocopies. So, family members, if your student is planning on working when they come to campus, you and your student, you guys both may want to just look and Google an I-9 form to see what identification documents are acceptable. Okay? If you don't have those identification documents, you can apply, but once you're hired, you can't start until we receive those documents. So, family members, if they don't have them, you're probably going to get a call. You're probably going to ask that they be mailed, or you're going to be meeting them halfway, or maybe that's a good excuse for you to come down and take them to dinner because you're missing them. But students, you're going to need those. So just know that that is something you may want to check out ahead of time. I did tell you on the eligibility requirements, the reason why those eligibility requirements exist, the degree seeking, the half-time, the 2.0 GPA, is as a student employee on campus, you're exempt from FICA taxes. We're not going to withhold any Social Security or Medicare from your checks. So that gives you a little extra cash flow. But we are required by law to withhold both federal and Missouri state taxes. So you will have to fill out a W-4 form. If you fill those out, even if you filled out many of them, sometimes those can be intimidating. The top part where it says the demographic information, that's pretty cut and dried. But as far as the numbers portion, on what to put for dependents, allowances, withholdings, we cannot advise you on that. We're not tax advisors, and everyone in here has a different tax situation. So, family members, that might be something that you might get a call on, just asking for some advice when you fill out that form. Now, the direct deposit form has actually become obsolete over the last couple of weeks. Every student is paid by direct deposit. So if you do not have a bank account, a personal bank account to get paid. You can go to Commerce Bank in the PSU on second floor. They will help you fill out an account. They'll give you a freebie, maybe a shirt or something. But everybody's paid on the 15th and the last day of the month. Okay? You're going to be paid by direct deposit. So once you get set up as a student employee, you're going to have a work resources tab. You can actually go in and put all that direct deposit information in there. It is a separate direct deposit than what your student tab is. Your student tab is for your account. So if you have a refund coming or something on your tuition account, that's going to go through the student tab. You will also need to set up your direct deposit on your work resources tab once you've been hired and set up as an employee. Okay? I do recommend, go ahead and start looking for jobs now. There are jobs out there for fall. We are going to continue to see an increase in jobs over the next month. There's also going to be an increase of students looking for jobs. So this is a good time for you to go ahead and start looking at positions. If you get to campus and you haven't gotten a job, we are having a job fair. It is on August 27th. It is in this building, in the PSU, in the ballroom, which is probably where you ate last night. So if you haven't gotten a job and you want to meet on and off campus employers, some of them will be even doing some on-site interviews. So that would be a good opportunity for you to show up and meet some of those potential employers. Okay, I've given you tons of information just like